Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Media. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and we are here today on behalf of a Foundation for India Studies. Foundation for India Studies has been gathering the reflections of the first generation Indians here in the Houston area for more than 3 decades. We have interviewed numerous community people from the Indian origin here in the Houston area. And today we have 2 special guests, and we're going to be talking to them. I just want to give a little brief background about Foundation for India Studies, which was started by Krishna Vavilala, and over the last 2-3 decades, he has been very diligently working on collecting the experiences of the first generation Indians here in the Houston area and also all across the United States. And he also has received numerous awards, including the Presidential Award this year for his contribution to the Oral History Project in the Houston area. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and our special guest is Prasad Pokala. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Ranga Pokala. Welcome to Foundation for India Studies. We are delighted to have you. And just give us a little bit about background about your, where you come from and when you came, and tell us about your journey.
Namaste and Hare Krishna. I was born in Vijayanagaram, where my grandfather was, a forest range officer. Mm-hmm. So I was delivered there, but I grew up in Madras, where my father was working the railways. So most of my education was in India, including medical school. Mm-hmm. So my wife, of course, was born in Rajamandri, mm-hmm. and she grew up there completely. And then we got married in 1971. Mm-hmm. Since then we are here. So I came to US, of course, in 1973. Yeah.
What's the first place you landed?
Of course, I came by, if I remember correct, Transworld Airlines and mm-hmm. Boston, and then actually my destination was Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit?
Where I started my state medicine internship in 1973.
What hospital?
Detroit General Hospital.
I was in Detroit.
City County Hospital.
Yeah. I did a cardiology fellowship at Detroit General. For Henry Ford Hospital between 78 and 80. So
I was
quite familiar with. Is that right? I was quite familiar with the Detroit area, and yes. I spent 2 years. And in '84, when we left Detroit, everybody had like a bumper sticker saying, "The last person to leave town, would you please turn the lights off?" I don't know if things have changed in Detroit. In the past 42 years.
Yes. Recently it seems to be getting worse there.
Yeah. Okay, tell us, so you came in 73 and you were in Detroit, and did you go anywhere else or were you most of the time?
My mom, she came in December.
Once again.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Tell the story, Mom.
Okay, my wife came in December 73.
Yeah.
What happened was that the Indian Airlines gave the wrong date. Oh. I went one day later where she was in transit because she didn't know.
Yeah.
So luckily there was an Indian passenger who was there who helped her to get to Detroit, and then she saw that I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So he actually contacted several doctors, since he knows that I was a doctor in residency. So finally contacted a common friend, mm-hmm. and who picked, he actually came and picked her up and, took care of her until I came back the next day. Anyway, it was a harrowing experience for her.
I know, especially when you're coming to a foreign country. It's very strange,
time, yes.
And it's very challenging.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about your early experience in the United States.
Okay, when I first came in 1973, when I first arrived at Detroit General Hospital, the entrance, they were completely, I mean, it was scary. It was scary. All the way the people looked and people were there.
I know.
It was very scary. Then, but afterwards, I met the chief of staff and the chief resident. He made me sit there. He was talking. There was a medical student. Crossed his leg and smoking. It was an astonishing scene for me.
Things were quite different.
Yeah, and the director, chief of medicine came. I stood up, and the student continued smoking and with his crossed legs. That was a big cultural shock to me.
I understand. Yeah, it is for all of us, because not only cultural shock, but also the environment and also the food and many aspects.
One thing about the food, in the morning rounds, the morning, they give the handover, the night guys give the handover. They served donuts, big donuts. I thought it's vada, in South India we have vada. I thought, what is this giant vada?
Yeah, I know.
And one bite, it was sweet, very sweet. That was also very funny.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, because I landed in Washington, D.C., then I went and spent a month with my cousin, and they said, we're going to take you to a pizza restaurant, and they said it's great food, and all these things. I couldn't see any, taste or anything like that. So, what did you all do next?
Of course, I completed my residency at the General Hospital, and I did 1 year of GI fellowship in Worcester, Massachusetts.
I see, yeah.
But it was very, not a very
fellowship 1 year.
Yeah, and it was very. The environment wasn't very good, and the weather was very bad.
I know, yeah.
So even worse than Detroit, because the terrain was very difficult.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And it's very difficult for my children, especially my parents were living with me at that time. So we came back to Detroit. I completed my residency over there, and then I did. Before that, I did 2 years of emergency medicine, because my parents were coming. I wanted to have some leisure time to show them around, so I took in emergency medicine before I did my fellowship.
I see. When you were in Detroit, what was your experience as far as outside the profession?
Yes.
In terms of interacting with people from our country, or the American people and patients and all this.
Yeah. In Detroit, there's a gentleman called Cherukuri Ramarao. You would have known, no? Cherukuri, Ramarao
Mostly
Cherukuri.
I know people from Henry Ford Hospital.
Okay.
I didn't meet, but there were quite a few Indian fellows.
He was he was a leader for the Indian community.
Oh, community, yeah.
And he helped us get to more friends. He started the Telugu Cultural Association. So we had a nice, very nice experience there. Of course, professionally, you were one of the things is whether I was discriminated or anything. There was one, surprisingly, he's a Canadian. So, he was the third year resident from Canada. He was the one who was kind of tried to bully me.
Is that right?
Not the local Americans. Local Americans were very friendly. He was trying, but of course I managed.
I know. I think in every business area we go, we're going to have one or two people who get on our nerves and get us irritated.
Right. But in general, I had very pleasant experience. Even here, after I started practice in 1982, there's professionally no doctor or anybody, but one patient in 1985 or so, one lady, I was talking to her, she doesn't even look at me, she was looking at the ceiling and talking to me. So I knew she was a little bit. The next day I came to round, the nurse said that so-and-so, another gastroenterologist was called.
Oh.
I said, what happened? She wanted a Caucasian doctor. I said, okay, that's all right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the only racial thing I experienced. Otherwise, people were very pleasant. I have no problem.
We can't please 100% of the
Right. But it's very
and,
minor. It's very minor.
I know.
And I was not harassed or I didn't have any problem. I'm very happy to be in Houston.
Oh, okay. So, how long were you in Detroit? Are you still in Detroit?
No, I'm here, Houston.
Houston, okay.
82 to 40, now 22.
Oh,
Yeah, I was in Detroit from 73 to 82.
80.
1 year I went to Worcester, Massachusetts.
Oh, I see, yeah. So the rest of the time you were in Detroit?
No, yes, only 1 year I went to Worcester. From 73 to 82 I was in Detroit.
I see. Oh.
And 82 I came here and I've been here ever since.
From
so 40 years.
82 years you've been
82 to 2022 I'm here.
40
years.
What part?
I live in Spring, Texas.
Yeah.
Which is first a few months I lived in Woodlands in an apartment to get feet in, and then afterwards we rented a house in the Spring area, and then afterwards we bought a house.
Oh, I see.
The,
so what
hospitals
did you practice?
Houston Northwest Medical Center Hospital. That's in 1960.
Yes, a cardiologist there. I know.
Harminder Bhatia.
No, I have met him also, but there's another cardiologist, Rao or somebody.
Yes, Metram Rao.
Metram Rao.
He retired.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I met him.
Yes. Actually, I introduced him. I met him in a social gathering, and he was working in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So he was looking for a placement. I said, I know one cardiologist looking for a guy.
Yeah.
Who want a male. So I introduced them, and he joined practice.
So, compared to Detroit, what difference did you see culturally, socially, and professionally from Houston to Detroit?
At that time in Detroit, Indian community was smaller, but we had very good friendships.
I see,
we are very
all
happy
you need
there.
Is 2 or 3 good friends.
Yeah, we are very happy there, but because of the continuous cold weather, and my children were growing up, my parents were, very uncomfortable staying in the cold weather, not able to go out. So I wanted to move to a warm place, so I chose Texas instead of California or Florida because of the expense and costs involved. And
in fact, that reminds me, I used to live in Taylor, Michigan, which was 18 miles
yes,
from
I
Detroit.
lived there too.
Is that right?
Taylor,
Perfect.
Michigan, yes.
Small world.
Yes.
Anyway, I had to drive 18 miles as you did, and like last couple of months before my fellowship was supposed to be finished, my car made a U-turn on the ramp because of the snow.
cold weather, skidding.
I said, man, this is... since I left Detroit in 1980, I came to Houston, and I've been here ever since that time.
Right. I don't think anybody who comes to Houston leaves this.
I know. So tell us, what was your early experience here in the Houston area? You can also talk.
I wanted to.
Yeah.
Houston, how did you feel?
I am okay.
You met Vavilalas, correct?
Family, very nice family.
Yes.
And
Like other parents.
I know.
Yeah. Very happy.
Our daughters also very close. Friends and all that, my kids. Like them, family, everybody, everything.
Everybody.
Very nice, My first 2 sons' marriage, they help right-hander, Lakshmi Vavilala.
Was like a right-hander.
She helped so much.
I see.
Right-hander, for everything, not married, for everything.
For all,
many functions and all that, they are the right hand.
As I said, Krishna Vavilala was instrumental in starting this foundation for
Right.
India Studies,
Right,
and
right.
Yeah.
I think we interviewed more than
Yeah,
60,
very
70
nice
people,
family.
and we're going to show some of the pictures
And
here.
several of our relatives also are here
Yeah.
now. So it's, I mean, when we came in, there were only few people, but of course, like everywhere else, Indian population has grown up. And we used to have only one temple, Meenakshi temple.
Yeah.
Now we have so many temples.
That's
Of
true,
course,
yeah.
I'm active with Hare Krishna Temple or International Society for Krishna
One of the
Consciousness,
major
ISKCON.
challenges in Houston is like commute.
Right.
Did you have to commute quite a lot, or?
No, most of my office is only about 20-25 minutes from my home.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, commuting for social events,
I know that.
it takes 1 hour minimum, sometimes
Absolutely.
longer. Even now, even with all these beltways and tollways, still it takes long time.
It is, we live in southwest part of
Right.
Houston, and it takes an hour and a half to get from Intercontinental Airport.
Right.
It's like a nightmare, and
Right,
you're right.
right.
To go to any Indian function, you have to spend at least an hour,
Right.
no matter what part of Houston you are in, because all the suburbs are so spread out.
Right.
So, how many children do you all have, and what do they do?
Okay, we have 3 sons. My first son here,
Yeah.
Sivaramakrishna, we call him Naveen because he was born on New Year's Eve on December 31st, 1974.
Yeah.
But when he was born, I was praying, and Krishna appeared, Krishna's picture made focus. So, and my grandfather's name was, my maternal grandfather's name is Ambasiva Rao. My father's name is Rama Rao. So Sivarama Krishna. That's how. But since he was born on New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
and India's New Year, we called him Naveen.
I see. Yeah.
So
That's
everybody
good.
knows him as Naveen.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, my second son is by the way, my son is professor in New York Institute of Technology in genetics,
I see,
molecular biology department. My second son was born in 1977, December 27th. I mean November 27, 1977. He's named after my maternal grandmother, Hanumayamma.
Yeah.
So we called him Hanumantrao. But he was a little boy, so we called him Chinny as the nickname.
Yeah.
He is associate professor of pediatrics, pediatric oncology
I see. Yeah.
at Oklahoma City Medical Center. My third son was born in June 8, 1980. We didn't give him a long name. He was born on a Sunday, so we can call him Ravi. Ravi is another name for son.
I see. Yeah.
So Ravi Pokala. We call him Bully Beauty because of the small guy, the
I
last
see.
one.
I see. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. And go ahead.
Yeah, all the kids are very nice. They grown up very nice.
That's good. So,
They respect elders and everybody.
so what is your youngest?
Youngest
child?
is a computer science engineer, computer hardware.
I see, yeah.
He lives in
Yeah.
Fremont, California, works in San Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, we have interviewed quite a number of people who actually started off in real small towns
Right.
all across the United States and spent considerable amount of time
Right.
in small towns.
Right.
Luckily you were in
Yes,
Detroit,
yes.
which is a major city,
Right.
but maybe the not the best city
Right.
you want to be in. Actually, I started in Nashville, Tennessee,
I see.
which I had the same kind of experience.
Yeah.
But then I was in 6 different places after that, before I came to Houston. So, did you see anything in terms of cultural differences among the various Americans groups and our Indian groups, and how were the Indians, mixing with the rest of the group? Or what was your experience?
Well, I mean, By and large, people respect Indian doctors, irrespective of where I worked. I think that is because we are kind, compassionate, and intelligent, and we care. And all the patients say that in general, and of course, they have some patients have special affection for me because I've been taking care of
That's good.
them for a long time. So,
And what about the food? Obviously, if you're in the Houston area, you probably had a little more choices. Maybe not that many in the 80s.
Right.
But now we have quite a number of choices. Did you like the American food, or did it take some time to?
Of course, from the beginning, I never ate beef. Never. I was a non-vegetarian in India, but even in India, we were from a lower middle class, so we didn't have refrigeration. So even the meat, if we had to eat, is Sunday one time, and that too once in a month because it's so expensive. So basically, we are vegetarians. Here, of course, I decided as a Hindu for us, cow is holy, cow is holy, so I never ate beef. Then after I became older, when I got in touch with International Society for Krishna Consciousness, I became vegetarian. I'm not only vegetarian, I don't eat onion, garlic, mushrooms.
I see.
So I became much more religious in that respect.
Nearly 20 years.
And my children are very understanding. Then they make a big deal about it, and they follow with us whatever we do.
Okay, when we were growing up in India, life was quite different. And even here in the United States, in the past 40 years, there has been a dramatic change in the lifestyle. So maybe you can tell us about your children's experience when they were younger, and now with so many changes that we are seeing, not only here in the United States, but all across the globe, with the so-called globalization and cultural changes that have been rapidly spreading all across United States, Europe, and other countries.
My children were, probably they will be better able to tell about their experience. But overall, they have adjusted. Whatever problems they had adjusted well. Luckily for us. They were in schools which was a little more, upper middle class environment. So they were more accepting, and my children luckily excelled in education. They got so many awards. So generally, people liked our children, but also they are good boys. So that also helps. And,
when you say about good boys and good kids, and always the question comes up. No matter how well the kids are raised by a very nuclear family, still some of them end up in interracial marriages. And I was wondering, what are your thoughts on the interracial?
My first son got married to Caucasian Roman Catholic.
You can also join us. Just come on over here.
And she's a very nice lady, and we love her, and she got adjusted with us very nicely, so we are very happy.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, my son is also married to a Caucasian, and life transforms, and I guess no matter how much we try, it's not going to be different, because once they make their minds and all
my
this.
first daughter-in-law's name is Melissa.
Malleswari
is after, just like that. But
she's very nice.
She's very nice.
That's good.
And
she likes to have what I am cooking, she is eating, no problem with food.
Yeah, same thing. When I cook, my daughter-in-law and grandkids, they all like Indian food, because I like to cook spicy food. Because I'm from Karnataka, I'm a Maharashtrian, so I'm very much close to the Andhra
Telugu
type
food,
of
yes,
food.
yes.
We have one grandson,
Yeah.
I see, yeah.
11 years old. He is very nice.
Yeah, Henry Ranga Pokala.
He
told me.
is 6th grade.
That's fascinating. Yeah. Okay, let's talk
And my
about.
second
yeah.
son also
Son.
married to a Hispanic lady. She
I
is
see,
a
yeah.
pediatrician. So they live happily in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma. Yeah.
My third son is a single. He's 42 and single.
I mean, that's another challenge that I see quite often. Even same thing with my daughter.
Yeah.
And as you know, why they are so educated, so knowledgeable, so accomplished, and so independent, and still, you know, they have trouble finding
Right.
the companions. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
My third son said he doesn't want to get married. He's happy the way he is.
Yeah.
I said it's okay for now, but as you grow older, you would need somebody because we won't be there all the time.
You see, we need companionship.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
more than anything else.
Right, yes.
And you know, we can say we don't want to get married and all
Yeah.
this, but still, you
Yeah.
know, we are
We are social beings.
human beings. We
Right.
can't live in isolation.
Right,
That
right.
just doesn't work.
Right, right, right.
So, are you involved with any like cultural, political, or any different kind of organizations?
As I told you, I belong to International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON. You know about it,
Yes, yes, yes.
founded by
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
He brought, he is called Bhakti Vedanta Swami. So Bhakti means devotion,
Yeah.
devotional service, and also Vedanta is philosophy. So if one comes to International Society Krishna Conscious Temple, one gets the knowledge as well as the tools to improve one's devotion towards the Supreme Lord Krishna. So in that way, it kind of transformed my life. Because when my father passed away, in fact, Mrs. Vavilara Lakshmi suggested us to invite Hare Krishnas to do kirtan and bhajan
Yeah,
at
yeah,
home.
yeah.
And that was the beginning of my awakening of my spiritual life.
That's
So it kind of transformed my life. So
That's interesting.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about if you hadn't come to America, you know, what would you see in your crystal ball looking backwards, where you would be?
okay, I was a medical doctor anyway.
Yeah.
There, probably I would have continued practicing. You know, and, I was in Madras, so I would have practiced there. But
Do you have any regrets, or do you feel like, you know, maybe you want to go back to India?
No.
why? I like that.
Well, maybe we'd
No.
like to hear.
Oh, except why? Why you don't want to go back? She goes to India and she enjoys
I
thoroughly.
wanted to enjoy, I wanted to stay there because he didn't leave this country because he wants to prayer all the time Krishna, Radha, Nila, Madhava.
Yeah.
No, so he didn't leave this country.
Yeah.
So that's why I am.
She
I
stuck with
says
me.
no.
She stuck with me.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
He came, so that's why I came.
yeah.
I am not working. I am housewife. So
Wherever I
he
am,
is
she's
in
there.
turn, he is a taste, my taste.
Yeah. An interesting point is like my children and your son, you know, they all grew up in a little more controlled environment, and they were more willing to listen to, go to the temple,
Yeah.
do music, or you know,
Dance or
get
whatever.
dance or anything that the parents wanted them to do. But as far as what is today, you know, things have changed so much.
Right.
Culturally, so what do you see is transforming with like our second generation?
Yeah, I mean,
Our grandkids.
they are less and less disconnected with our culture.
Yeah.
I could see that, of course.
He came first, he says 5 years we are leaving. And my family and everybody upset. Why they went?
Yeah.
They said 5 years. Then after that, they are living there. They didn't come, he says. Everybody upside down. I like India. I am sometimes I want to go to India and I want to stay there. But this is, kids are here. They can't come
And there's been a cultural transformation here in the United States, and it's. One second. That's okay.
Oh, it came up.
The clip, I don't know.
Sorry, I didn't know how it came up.
The clip is, I don't know all this. That's fine. That's okay. As I was saying, there's been a tremendous cultural transformation, and there are a lot of things that kind of really shock us as watching, how things are happen, how things are changing, and they are changing so rapidly, and what do you think about what's happening in this country? Are we in the right direction, or what do you think is going to be its implications on our grandchildren?
I'm a very open-minded and very, very compassionate person. But I'm really, I'm an immigrant myself. But I had to go through so much to get a green card and so much to get a citizenship. My parents applied for immigration. They had to wait for years and years to get the visa. Even though they got green card approved, the visa numbers were not available.
I don't know.
I can hold it.
No, you hold it, it gets more problem. Okay.
So visa numbers were not available. They were on a payroll visa to travel and all that. So we go through so much to get. I have to get a no objection certificate from India. All these things we got to go through to get a citizenship, and whereas people walk, and present administration completely ignores it and saying there is no problem. It's affecting the very people they think they are helping. The black Americans are the ones who are suffering the most because their jobs are being taken care by the illegal immigrants, and I mean that upsets me as an immigrant. Okay, number two, of course, there are some. Pandering to some extreme minorities. Of course, we respect everybody. As a doctor, I see everybody. I treat them with equal respect, equal care. But what the trend of promoting certain, behavior, beyond. That really affects me too.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, before we conclude, maybe we would like to talk to your son.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe you can tell us what is your experience, growing up in the United States, and what do you envision as this rapid transformation happening here in the United States?
I mean, I don't have anything to compare to. I mean,
I
as a child, how did the people treat you?
I mean, I only know I've been very lucky, right?
Yes.
Like, if I was born and raised in India, right, my life would have been very, very different. Probably more difficult, fewer opportunities. I think also at the time that I was born and raised in the U.S., right? It had been 10 years before, right? That Jim Crow was still the law, right? And or it was like so I'm very lucky that the civil rights movement had made this opportunity for my parents' generation to come here and make it even feasible, and that that the sacrifices that that generation of African American leaders especially had made benefited my generation, right? And so I feel a great deal of debt for their sacrifice, as well as of course the sacrifices of my parents, right, who and also your generation, right, who who basically it's a I'm in awe, right?
Yes.
It's really quite remarkable to just say, you know what, I'm going to go to the other side of the world, and I don't know, and just risk it all, right, for this, right? And that's that's an impressive.
Growing up
impressive,
as a school kid and early college days, did you see any difference in terms of how people are treated?
I think I myself, right? Like I was not terribly. I'm not a very outgoing person. I'm much more at that time.
Not now. You're outgoing now.
Right, very nerdy. Right, and so I got I didn't have that many friends, right, when I was growing up. I didn't really have great really close friends until I was in graduate school, to be honest. But my one of my younger brother, Chinny, right, he's very gregarious. He always had friends up the wazoo. So and so he's sort of like the controlled experiment, right?
Yeah,
Saying that it's not a race or anything like that.
That's
it's really the individual, right? And so growing up in Houston, at least in our area, at that time, it was it was a
Do you think
great place.
Indian parents were more controlling compared to your counterparts in the school?
I don't know. I mean, I think I think a lot of I like to think of the Indian American experience in the U.S. I think it's very similar to the Jewish American experience. Like we're basically like maybe 40 years later, right?
That's,
but like they always, there's a very strong culture of, education, even from modest beginnings, you do education, to improve yourself and, and do better for the next generation. Dietary requirements, right? Like, not eating, beef, right?
Yes.
That was a big, sort of like, oh, I can't eat a hamburger, right? Or I can't eat a pepperoni pizza or whatever, right? And so that could be a little bit weird. Or, my mom wearing saris, right? Like again, or like the buttu, always questioning about the buttu, right? But that's true. I think a lot of other immigrant groups, when the Italians came, right? Like, they faced issues, right? And the Irish and other groups as well.
Now, fast forwarding it almost 40 years with the interracial marriage and all this. Do you think we are going to lose some of that Indian culture and heritage, especially with our grandkids or kids?
Right. Well, I don't think so. I think it'll be, I think like with other groups that have come to America, you'll always, my son, right, he's interracial as you can get, right? But he's very interested, in his... in all his ancestors, right? Whether from his mother's side, which is more like European, but different parts of Europe, as well as his Indian half through me. And that's part of why I encouraged my parents to come and be interviewed by you to basically make some sort of record for this. And then also, why I encouraged Mr. Bhavilala to for this. But I think, just like with other groups, right, they're going to be, I think there'll be a great deal of Indian, pride in being Indian, just like you have people that are proud to be Irish or, or Italian, even if that's many generations removed. And so you'll have some dilution of that, right? That happens.
I mean,
but it's also incorporated into American culture. You look at the TV, right? You have... a lot of, TV stars and movie stars are Indian. You had the vice president, she's Indian, right? Or half Indian, right?
She doesn't claim it. She claims she's black.
But she's black, but she's also Indian, right?
But she does say that, though. I wish she said that.
Good.
Anyway, in general, ever since I came, there was definitely Indian culture influence has definitely increased. Especially a lot of people go for yoga. Yoga practice is all over, irrespective of what faith. A lot of people participate in yoga system. and almost everybody likes Indian food. Some may not like the spicy variety, but they still like to eat an Indian food. Every year I cater some Indian food to my hospital, some of the staff. They love it. So, and also some people like I know some people watch who do not know anything about Hindi, watch Hindi movies on YouTube.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I didn't know that there are YouTube. I don't watch YouTube. They say that there are Indian movies. We like that. I always see them. One day one patient did not take her medicine before she came. Her blood pressure was slightly high. What happened? You didn't take your medicine? I was watching this Indian movie on YouTube, and I went to bed late, and I got up, and it's my time for my appointment, so I came without taking. So Indian influence is there.
I think
much more than we realize.
In New York City, Diwali is going to be a school holiday next year.
See, we were sort of exposed to a culture which was quite different from what we grew up in India, and now Indian culture is having a profound effect all across the United States and United Kingdom also, because everywhere they are celebrating Diwali.
And the Prime Minister is an Indian origin now, correct?
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Pokala and Mrs. Rangamani Pokala.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Ramakrishna, Naveen.
Naveen,
Yes.
it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we are coming to you on behalf of the Foundation for India Studies. And if you would like to be featured in the Foundation for India Studies, please get in contact with the Foundation for India Studies on the website. We'll put the link here, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much. It's nice
You're
meeting you.
welcome.
Namaste.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Namaste.
God bless you all.